Facebook, what up? We back. We live, baby. Wait for a couple people to hop on like I always do. And then we gonna get this podcast rolling. I got things to do. Got a couple meetings. Gotta get to work eventually, but gonna do this podcast real quick. So let me hit record on the audio. And welcome to the Morning Sun Podcast. I'm your host, TJ Two Braids. This is our 5th episode. Today we are going to be talking about a variety of things, starting with healthy relationships. So that's the first topic we're going to talk about. Then we're going to talk about, I'm going to list my top 5 favorite rappers. It's my list, so you can make your own if you want, but it's going to be my list. And then we're going to talk about some NBA and NFL stuff, specifically Giannis and the Pistons almost getting into a fight, and then why the Cowboys suck so bad, and some other stuff. But this is the Morning Sun Podcast brought to you by Anchor FM. It's always on Facebook Live. Sorry I missed a couple of days, been super busy, but we try to broadcast every Wednesday and Saturday. This week, probably be today, and then I'll probably do it again tomorrow or Sunday. But we're also on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're in works to be on Apple Podcasts, so that'll be soon. And follow us on Instagram at the Morning Sun Podcast. Eventually, I'll probably try to get another Facebook page for the podcast and all this other stuff. But I'm your host, TJ Two Braids. Those that are listening, what up, what up? Hope your morning/afternoon's going good. And we just gonna jump right into the first segment. So, I wanted to talk about healthy relationships. Something that's been on my mind, and it's something that I actually have been talking to other people about, friends, and then even did a youth program about it last night. But what are the qualities of a friend? If you were to think about, if you were to, don't be getting on the Cowboys. All right, I'll try not to get on them too hard. But I actually like Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott. So, but if you were to think about the qualities of a friend, what would come to mind? You know, some might say honest, funny, chill. You know, what are the good qualities that you would consider in a relationship, whether it's a friendship, dating, marriage, family even? Who are the people that you like, and then who are the people that you dislike? And why? What qualities make them likable or lovable? And then what are the negative qualities that make relationships unhealthy, whether it's friendships, dating, marriage, whatever? So if you were to look, I got this piece of paper, and if you're listening via audio, I'm sorry, but it's just basically a silhouette of a person. I don't know why he looks buff and his head's so small, but it's just it's an outline of a body, and inside there's 3 qualities that I would say are good and that we should strive towards, and then there's 3 things that aren't necessarily as likable. And so we'll start with the ones that are good. I put ambition. So I believe that it's important that people be ambitious, whether it's your friends or even in a dating or love type of relationship. If someone's not ambitious, you know, it's just a good thing to be ambitious, to have goals, to have dreams, to recognize that there's things you want to accomplish, whether it's small things like, you know, daily and weekly to-do lists, or whether it's, you know, more bucket list type things. To be ambitious. If I didn't have ambition, I wouldn't have started a podcast. I wouldn't have started my own music career. You know, I just got a thing back from Spotify yesterday saying my music was heard in over 27 countries. And you may say, well, are you really, you know, famous? It's not about being famous. For me, it's about, I was supposed to be a statistic. I was supposed to be in jail. I was supposed to be dead. I was supposed to be strung out somewhere. And then you take a kid from the inner city who overcame a lot of crap and Over 27 countries heard my music. Am I rich off music? No. Do I wish more people listen? Sure, but that's not the goal of my music. To me, it's just an honor that people heard God glorifying lyrics in over 27 countries. But you got to have ambition. And it goes back to the relationships we're in. Do the people that you call friends or that you're dating or whatever it is, do they have ambition? Do they have goals? Do they have dreams? And are they working and striving towards those things? So ambition. The second thing is confidence. Confidence is an attractive trait, not just in a dating relationship, but in a friendship. You know, it's kind of hard to be around people who aren't confident and who have low self-esteem and who think low of themselves. And it's not to judge them, because I think at times we're all insecure and self-conscious in our own ways. But overall, you know, it's kind of a buzzkill when people aren't confident. So I like to be around confident people, people who believe in themselves, who, you know, when they're about to tell a joke, they gonna tell it, and they gonna tell it with confidence, and they just know it's gonna be funny. You think about even comedians, like half of what they do is confidence. They have to go up and present that joke, that punchline with confidence that you're gonna laugh at them. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's just the personality or the character that makes it funny, more so than even the joke or the punchline. And so I like a person that has confidence, whether it's my friends, whether it's my wife, whoever it is. And then last thing, loyalty. Just loyalty. Loyalty is more than are we loyal to each other. That's obviously important, but just loyalty in general, you know, that I'm committed to you in more ways than one. We think of loyalty as only based on like, or like go out and be with another person, but just being that's only one way of being committed to someone. Are we committed to each other in everything, with our finances, with our time, with our effort, with our energy, and then even with friendships? You know what I'm saying? What is loyalty? It's when, you know, you're not going to let someone badmouth your friend or vice versa. You're not going to sit around and gossip about someone. You're not going to hate on someone. You're not going to act like you like them when they're around, and then when they're not around, you're a totally different person. And that you're there for each other, you know? We should have deep friendships that there's people we could call on for anything, and vice versa. I would like to think there's people in my life I could call on for anything. There are people. When my rent was short, there was people I know who borrowed me money. You know? Because they're my friend. They do it. And I would like to think that there's people in my life who would say, if I need something, I can come to TJ. So those are the three good characteristics. Now we're going to get on the three negative things in relationships. The first one I put is dependent. So if you look, dependent, what do I mean by dependent? Excuse me. I mean someone who is totally dependent upon the other person. So I'm going to start with friendships. You know what it's like to be in a friendship where like you're the only person who has money, and so you're always buying food. You're always, you know, supplying whatever you're going to do. I remember when I was a teen, and it was like sometimes one of us would be the only one with money to buy weed, and then the rest of us is just getting high off the other person, right? Or one of us always only has money to order pizza, and the rest just don't put in ever, you know? That's like a practical little example. Or it's just a matter of like, you always want to be around that person, and you don't want them having other friends, and you don't want them hanging out with other people, or you're going to feel some type of way. You get jealous because they might spend their time in other places. Another big thing, especially with young people, I think it happens with older people too, but let's say you and your boy, you've been boys forever. You do everything together, you know, kick it, hoop, you know, watch sports, go out to eat, whatever. And then one of y'all gets a girlfriend, and then naturally, it's just natural. There's nothing personal about it. Y'all quit hanging out as much. And then it's easy for someone to start to feel some type of way. Like, man, that was supposed to be my boy. Now he got a girlfriend. He act like, you know, he can't kick it with me, he can't call me, he can't say what's up anymore. Um, why be that way instead of be happy for your boy? You know? Because we live in a dependent relationship where it's like I can't I can't I can't succeed, I can't exist without that person in my life. Because we take it too far. We don't set up boundaries, and more importantly, we don't find our identity in what actually matters. If we're finding our identity in other people, that's a very slippery slope because we can't force people to make us happy. We can't put that on them. Same thing goes for a dating relationship, or a marriage. If our identity is found in our spouse, our boyfriend, our girlfriend, our partner, that's not healthy. And then you you always feel like you need that person around, and when they're not around, you're accusing them of where they are. You're angry that they're not with you. You're texting them 24/7. Is because you're dependent solely upon that person, and you think that that relationship and that person makes up your identity. But in reality, your identity cannot be found in another person. Your happiness cannot be found in another person. And then if we take it from a biblical worldview, your identity must be in Christ. See, my identity is not in the fact that I'm a male. It's not in the fact that I'm native. Not in the fact that I'm a rapper. Not in the fact that I'm good at this. I'm that, blah, 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 blah. I'm a father, whatever. My identity is in God first because the Bible says that I was created in the image of God and that I was created by a creator, the creator. So if I don't begin to start there for my purpose in life, then it's always going to be a dependent thing. But then going back to dating relationships, you see this all the time. It's like a guy and a girl or whatever the case is, they just can't stand to be without each other. And then it becomes unhealthy because they spend 24/7 with each other. And then they don't have any outside friendships. There's jealousy. They don't ever want each other to talk to the opposite sex because there's always, it's like people get mad because you went to the gas station and you interacted with the opposite sex to pay for the gas. That's what dependent people do. It's like, why'd you talk to that chick? I was just trying to get gas. I didn't know I did anything wrong, or vice versa. But that's how it gets when we become solely dependent upon that, and our identity becomes found in that relationship and in that person. So what we need to do is we need to find our identity first for ourselves, and we need to find our joy and our happiness first, and that person needs to do it too. So we have to be happy by ourselves. We have to find identity and purpose in life individually first, and then we can come together as a couple, a partnership, whatever you want to call it, and then we can bring both sides of that happiness and be happy together. But we can't find our happiness in a relationship. I hope that makes sense. It doesn't mean that you can't have fun, you can't love a person you're in a relationship. There won't be times of happiness, but in and of itself, your entire level of happiness and joy and peace and purpose in life cannot be found in a relationship with another person, or you're going to be living in an unhealthy way. So that's dependency. The second thing that's a bad characteristic for a healthy relationship, this is my opinion, is just being shy. So I don't, being shy, it's like, well, it doesn't mean that people who are shy are bad people. It's just me personally, it's harder for me to interact with, build deep relationship with someone who is shy, especially if they're always shy. So for instance, if I were married, which I am, and then my wife was still shy with me 7 years later, that wouldn't go as good. We can't talk to each other, we can't laugh, we can't joke, it's always awkward. So I think that there's nothing wrong with being shy, especially at the beginning of a relationship, whether it's a dating relationship or whether it's a friendship. But if you've spent X amount of time together and then that person's still shy, doesn't voice their opinion, doesn't laugh, doesn't joke, just sits awkwardly, to me that's hard to interact with. And a lot of my friends that I tell people all the time, like, if I don't mess with you, we might not be that close. Because I like to joke, I like to laugh, I like to roast people, I like to get roasted. It's fun. It's just part of what I do to build camaraderie. But um, it doesn't mean that if you're shy and you're watching this or listening that I think you're a bad person. That's not. There's times where I'm totally quiet and isolated, and people think I'm angry, but that's neither here nor there. But the third thing I would say is non-committed. That's a bad characteristic. Why do I say that? Is because oftentimes in life you find a friend, or you find someone you're dating, or even someone in your family, and they're not as committed to that relationship as you are. So it's a one-side street. They're around when it's fun for them. They hit you up when they need something. When it benefits them, they're around, and they don't reciprocate that type of love. You're worried about them when things are going bad. You might be praying for them. You might be giving them advice, and then they just take, but they don't ever give in the relationship. And so it's like they're not committed. If you're not reciprocating that same type of love to me, that's a bad characteristic. If we brothers, but you not reciprocating and putting back that same type of energy and love and support to me, then that's a negative characteristic in a relationship. It can't be a one-sided street. If we're friends, but I'm always just taking from you and I'm never giving to the relationship, that's bad, right? If I'm dating someone and they're always just taking from me, but they're not, I heard a great illustration one time. It's like relationships are like bank accounts. You have to put in just as many deposits as withdrawals, if not more. So if you're always just withdrawing from your bank account, what's going to happen? If you always are withdrawing from your bank account with no deposits being made, you're going to go into the negative, right? But the more deposits you put in, then it becomes positive. So you have to, at the very minimum, be putting in at least as many deposits as withdrawals in a relationship. And if you want it to really be high and positive, even more, then you need to be putting in more deposits than withdrawals. I hope that makes sense. Someone commented on here, we need our younger generation to see more positive relationships so they don't think that those toxic relationships are normal. Yeah, exactly. There's so many things that are toxic about relationships, but it goes back to what I would like to close this segment with is I learned this this activity. It was think about your life as a theater, and who is in your theater. You control who is in the audience. So if you've ever been to a theater, a concert, a show, you could even think of a movie theater, right? You decide who gets access to your theater. So are we aware of that? The people that are in our lives, we are the ones deciding who we allow in our life. Number two, we're deciding where they're at. Who has a front row seat? We know the front row seats are the most expensive, right? They're the ones everyone wants, especially with concerts and things like that. Who's in your front row? Are they healthy relationships in the front row? Who's in the middle? Who's in the balcony? And who have you had to kick out of your theater? It's not because you're a hater. It's not because you don't love people. I mean, even family at times, you have to remove from your theater. Because if it's a toxic relationship, what is the point of feeding into that negativity? Doesn't mean you don't love them, but it just means maybe for that moment, they don't belong in your theater because you're doing what you need to do in life to succeed, and they're not adding to that. They're taking away from that. And so if you think of your life as a theater, you decide who gets admission into your theater. And you decide who's in the front row, You decide who gets to speak into your life. You decide who gets to be in relationship with you. And if it is negative, what's stopping you from ending a relationship? What's stopping you from removing someone from the theater for a time? Now, maybe they'll be readmitted when they get healthier. But it's something to think about, because a lot of times I think people think that we're stuck in unhealthy relationships, but really everything is a choice. Doesn't mean it's not hard, doesn't mean there might not be circumstances and variables that make it difficult. But at the end of the day, we are deciding who is in our theater. And so that's the segment on healthy relationships. Like I said, it was just an outline of a body. I put 3 positive characteristics and 3 negative of different relationships. So yeah, this is the Morning Sun Podcast. I'm your host, TJ Two Braids. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts. This is brought to you by Anchor FM. It's a free app that I make my podcast through. This is the video version. The audio version will be uploaded later to Spotify and other things. But like I said, if anyone ever wants to be on the podcast, you could come in person. We could talk about certain topics. I could add you to the Facebook video. If you ever have any topics you want to discuss, feel free to comment in the comment section or message me, email me, whatever it is. So that was the first segment. The second segment, I'm going to talk about who I think are the top 5 favorite, not even favorite, just top 5 rappers of all time. Obviously, people know I'm a rapper. I love hip-hop music. There's good and bad that is attached to hip-hop music. I don't necessarily listen to the same type of hip-hop music that I did growing up. But as far as overall influence, impact, and skill, I'm going to give you my list on who I think is the top 5. And I'm not going to go in order, so I'm not going to say number 5, number 1. Maybe I'll say who I think is number 1, just because. But, so first on the list, doesn't necessarily mean he's number 1. I'll have to say is Jay-Z. Jay-Z is very talented lyrically, but also he is an entrepreneur. If you look at everything he's done in life, growing up in the projects and to get to where he's at and the success he's at, and now he's in partnership with the NFL and movies and music and all of these different things. And then just as far as lyrical too, he's always been a super dope lyricist. I don't know if you guys ever watched the documentary called The Black Album or Fade to Black, but basically he said he don't even write his lyrics down. He just memorizes them in his head and just goes into the studio like that. Which that in and of itself is just crazy. You don't write any lyrics down? Now you might say I don't believe him, maybe he's lying. I don't know. The people around him who've seen him in his recording process could answer that question. But the second one I'd have to say is Tupac. Tupac was just bigger than life. And I I was born in 88, so I was still a child during a lot of the Tupac stuff. But I grew up in hearing that, listening, and then just what my brothers and other people passed down to me. But it's like Tupac was bigger than music. Tupac was like a once in a generational person. Now you don't have to agree with everything he did. I don't agree with everything that came out of his mouth or everything he did in life. But as far as pure talent, ambition, drive, impact, Tupac was much more than just a rapper, and yet he's made some of the greatest music the world's ever seen. So he definitely has to be on the list. Third, I would say Eminem. Now, I know this is a touchy subject depending on what you believe. Some people say Eminem can't be on the list because he's white. Honestly, bro, I don't. Whoever's watching this, listen, I don't care what you say. Eminem by far is the sickest rapper as far as lyrics and delivery that ever. I mean, what song hasn't he made? Nobody can beat him in a battle, right? So, who's a better battle rapper than him? The dude's made kid songs about his daughter. He's made pop songs with Aerosmith. rock and roll type songs, depressive anger songs, pop songs, club songs, celebratory songs, lit songs, songs that are funny. The dude just could make any song and make it better than anyone, really, if we really think about that. The dude is just a genius. Um, so as far as just pure rapping skills, I don't know how anyone could put anyone above Eminem. I just don't. Now I do think that a lot of the music he's made in the latter part of his career has kind of been not as good, but I mean at this point it's like you're bored. It's like Tom Brady. You won so much, you did so much in your career and your craft. At this point you're not doing it to prove anything to anyone. You're just doing it because you love it. Um, Fourth, and who I would say is actually to me the greatest rapper ever, I would have to say is Seven. His name spelled Sevin. I don't. If you've never heard of him, to me, you can't really be a hip hop head if you don't at least listen to a couple of his albums. Seven to me by far has to be the greatest rapper ever. Not just based on skill, but based upon what he raps about. All he does is tell the truth in his music. He's an ex gang member from Cali. He's very lyrical. He's one of the best storytellers. The way that he tells stories is so vivid and detailed. Um, and each song is like, I believe if the world were to listen to his music and actually listen to it with an open heart, he makes the best music out there. And it's for youth. It's for the streets. It's for this generation. To me, Seven, I think, is the greatest rapper. Um, and then lastly, I would say, just as far as impact, I would say, and what he's done for a whole different subgenre, I'd have to put Lecrae in there. People probably are going to be surprised by this because a lot of people think I'm a Lecrae hater. Um, what people don't get is they're like, why you hate on Lecrae? I'm like, bro, I done bought every one of his albums. I done been to like 6, 7 of his concerts. I done bought merch. Like, I was listening to him before some of y'all was even listening to him. I've been listening to him since his first album. So, do I agree with everything he does? No. Do I think that there's things he's done that he shouldn't have? Sure. But who hasn't? I'm just an avid hip hop fan, in particular Christian hip hop. But as far as impact and what Lecrae has done for Christian hip hop, um, I mean, how do you not put him on the list? He's the front runner. I know there's other pioneers who helped pave the way, T-Bone and Gospel Gangsters and all these things, but Lecrae, in and of himself, he just made a huge impact, and he's broken the door open for many Christian rappers to be able to, carry on music. And actually, what's funny? Y'all can believe this story or not, but I remember meeting Flame and Lecrae when they was not famous. They was doing some event, and I didn't even want to go because I wasn't a Christian at the time, and I was like, Christian rap, this is finna be trash. This is finna be corny. What are these dudes doing with their life? And then I heard their music, and I was like, I ain't even finna lie. I don't know if I'd listen to this every day, but these dudes can spit. I ain't finna lie. And I remember about 4 or 5 weeks before that, I was starting to write music seriously, and I was like, I didn't know there was rappers like that. I didn't know there was Christian rappers who didn't curse, rappers who did different things in their music. That was super cool. Someone's trying to call me and mess up this live stream and podcast. Anyways, those are my top 5 rappers: Jay-Z, Tupac, Eminem, Seven, and Lecrae. And if you have not heard Seven, do yourself a favor. Not me. Do yourself a favor. Go listen to Seven. The dude is just amazing rapper. So that's that segment. We're gonna get into the last segment. And if you're listening, what's up? I'm your host, TJ Two Braids. This is the Morning Sun Podcast. We broadcast twice a week. We talk about a variety of topics from faith, politics, news, sports, media, and a variety of other topics. But The last segment I want to talk about is sports. And specifically, I'm going to have two topics on the NBA and two on the NFL. So we're going to start with the NBA. I don't know if y'all saw the other night, but Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Pistons have been getting into it. And I didn't watch the game. I actually saw highlights, and then I think I saw on Instagram they were interviewing Giannis afterwards. Apparently, the Pistons have been playing super dirty against the Bucks. There's elbows thrown from both sides, and then I saw a clip where Giannis gets double teamed. He gets fouled, pushed to the ground, and then Blake Griffin kind of does the Allen Iverson step over. And then you can tell Giannis, he doesn't get up at first. He just kind of like puts his head down and is like, I know this dude is not really about to step over me like that. But then they're interviewing him in the locker room after the game, and they was like, Giannis, what, they're asking about the situation and what it's like for every team to try to beat you up physically. And he said at one point during the Pistons game, I just looked at the Pistons and told them, like, this is more than basketball. We can just quit playing right now and we can just fight. I'm sorry, bro, but I was just cracking up at that because I feel like Giannis is about that life. I mean, I don't know how he grew up, but from hearing some of his stories, it's a miracle that he's probably even in the NBA and that he got a chance and made it out of poverty and all these things. And I mean, in a one-on-one fight, who's finna beat up Giannis? The dude's just a beast. But I just thought it was interesting. I was kind of surprised Giannis even said that though, because even though he's strong and he's this ferocious athlete and he's just stronger and faster and jumps higher than almost everyone, he seems like a good dude, a nice dude, a humble dude. And so for the Pistons to get him to the point where he's like, look, this is more than basketball, forget this game, we can just square up. He had to be pissed. But then what he did was he credited his teammates, and he said my teammates kept telling me keep my head in the game, and then I knew my teammates needed me. And so I'm not going to let the Pistons get to me in that way. But I don't know, maybe in the offseason they can do a celebrity boxing match, Giannis versus Blake Griffin. I think Giannis would give it to him, but I mean, Blake Griffin's pretty big and physical and athletic himself, so that's that. The second thing I want to talk about in the NBA is Carmelo Anthony. My man won Western Conference Player of the Week. Shout out to this caramel latte brought to you by Mayday Cafe. Fuego. But Carmelo Anthony, why did the NBA blackball this dude for so long? The dude is clearly balling. Now, is he a top 5 player in the league? No. Is he a top 10? No. The dude is legitimately balling enough to win Player of the Week. He's leading some of the games in Trailblazers in points. He led them to a few wins. They were struggling as a team. Now they seem to be doing better. Why'd the NBA blackball him for so long? I don't understand how there's players on the NBA roster and on certain teams, and Carmelo wasn't. It's the same thing with Kaepernick. And there's other people who, like Nate Robinson. Nate Robinson's the only 3-time dunk champion. He's one of the best 6th men off the bench. Every time he comes in, he's in the league. It's like, how come Nate Robinson don't have a job? I don't really want to get into the Kaepernick thing, but there's some terrible quarterbacks in the NFL. There's no way you can tell me that Colin Kaepernick is worse than some of the people I've seen play football in the NFL. Nate Robinson. Why is he not in the NBA? The dude is a bucket. He's always good. I don't know why Nate Robinson's not in the NBA. Same thing with Carmelo. It took so long for him to get back in the league, and then you see he's proving that he belongs. Now, what I find funny about that situation is there was people advocating for him, such as LeBron James, to put him in the NBA. But what's funny about it is LeBron didn't want him on the Lakers, though. You ever think about that? I thought Carmelo is your boy. He's part of the banana boat, right? Y'all super close. Y'all's families. Why you didn't put him on the Lakers? You telling me Jared Dudley should be in the NBA over Carmelo Anthony? You telling me that all these other players, I mean, you even look at people on the Timberwolves roster. You're telling me Carmelo Anthony couldn't find a spot on a roster somewhere? That's just crazy to think about. So I just find it weird and odd how there's just certain players that are blackballed from professional sports because of whatever reason. You know, you can say Carmelo Anthony has a bad attitude. He doesn't play defense. Those are valid points. James Harden don't play defense either. The man won an MVP. There's tons of other players who do way worse stuff that are on team. You look at J-Ron Curse on the Vikings. My man got a DUI and caught with a pistol, and he was playing the very next week. Now, look, I love the Vikings. I don't have nothing against J-Ron Curse personally. But how in one instance can a player get caught drunk driving with a pistol and he plays like the next week, and then another player's blackballed because they don't like his attitude or because he kneels during the national anthem or this or that? It's like, it's just overall there's not a consistency in it. You know, it's like favoritism and who you like and whatnot. So I find it funny that Carmelo Anthony's balling. I mean, I've never liked him a lot. I always thought he was a really good scorer, but I'm kind of rooting for him now, and I hope he does good. Maybe the Blazers will make the playoffs. I did see that his jersey was sold out. So the Trailblazers City Edition jersey was sold out on the website, which I thought was pretty dope. But switching from the NBA to the NFL, I just wanted to talk real quick about why are the Cowboys so trash? I mean, you look at the Cowboys, they have a complete roster. They have a franchise quarterback. They have one of the best running backs in the league, if not the most complete running back in the NFL. They got a good defense. What is it? It has to be coaching, right? First of all, why is Dak Prescott throwing the ball 60 times a game? I don't know. I didn't watch the whole game yesterday, but at one point I seen one stat, and it was only halfway through the fourth quarter. He already had like 43 pass attempts. The game wasn't even over yet. I'm like, bro, why is Dak Prescott throwing the ball 60 times a game when you have Zeke Elliott? Now, I get it. There's times where, you know, Zeke's just not producing, but then run some screenplays. Do some other type of creative plays. Don't just give up altogether on creativity in the run and the screen game and using your backs, because Tony Pollard's a good back, the backup, and just, okay, Dak, just drop back and just fire away as many times as you want. It's like, and then why are the Cowboys, I don't know if you watch their routes, they always run like deep routes. Why don't you guys ever do any quick hitters? You have Amari Cooper. The man's good at everything. He can do short routes, medium, long, screen pass, whatever. It goes back to me coaching. Why does Jason Garrett have a job? There's coaches who have accomplished far more in the league who lost their job, right? I even seen a thing about Jimmy Johnson. He got fired. The man won some Super Bowls. Cowboys fired him. I don't know what Jerry Jones has with Jason Garrett, why he likes him so much. But personally, I mean, everyone who knows me knows my wife's from Dallas. All of her family's Cowboys fan. She's a Cowboys fan. I like Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott and Amari Cooper. So I don't mind the Cowboys. Do I think that they're a little too much? Yes, they're not America's team. I've even heard people say they're God's team. It's like, now you're taking it too far. But I will tell you one thing about the Cowboys. They tailgate like no other. When we went to the Cowboys game against the Bengals 2 years ago in Dallas, bro, like for a mile leading up to the stadium, there was tailgates, parking lots full of people, barbecues, food. I'm like, man, the Cowboys just do football different, man. I was like, why even go to the game? Why even waste money? Let's just go kick it in this dude's tailgate. He had like flat screens, a sound system, a DJ, 2 barbecue pits. they do football different in Dallas. I'll give them that. But I don't know, why do the Cowboys? And what's crazy to me is they probably are still finna win their division, maybe even with a losing record, and probably go to the playoffs. Which that I wanted to talk about that for a second. It's like, should a team with a losing record go to the playoffs? Now, on one hand, I could see, of course, let's look at the NFC. You got the Seahawks, you got the Saints, the 49ers, you got the Rams, the Vikings, the Packers. There might even be another good team in there. Let's say a team with a potential winning record misses the playoffs, and then the Cowboys make the playoffs with a losing record. Is that good for the league? Should the team with the winning record make it instead? I would say you have a case there. But then we have to remember the 7-9 Seahawks, who upset the defending Super Bowl champion New Orleans Saints a few years back when Marshawn Lynch had the Beastquake run. So I mean, honestly, I think the Cowboys are better than their record. Even in some of the losses that I've watched, I haven't been able to watch every Cowboys game, but in a couple of the losses I did watch, they came back and they almost came back. Even last night, I mean, they were getting blown out. They only lost by a touchdown. So they have some type of resiliency and still make it close. I honestly think that they could potentially still make the playoffs and give whatever team they play a run for their money. Will it happen? I don't know. If it's the Vikings, definitely hope not. But I think Jason Garrett should be out. I just saw a report today that maybe they're looking at hiring Urban Meyer. At this point, hire anyone, bro. Hire anyone other than Jason Garrett. I don't know what the man does. He always has a stupid look on his face on the sideline. Hire Tony Romo. Honestly, I think he would be a good coach. The dude, if you ever watched Tony Romo announce games, the dude predicts what's going to happen before it even happens. He's just a brilliant football mind. I think Tony Romo would be a dope coach. I don't know what Cowboys fans think about that, but why are the Cowboys so bad? I'm honestly surprised the Bears beat them like that. The Bears are trash. I don't care what anyone says. People can say Trubisky's playing good. The Bears are trash. They should not have beat the Cowboys like that. And then the last topic I want to talk about is Xavier Rhodes on the decline. Now, this is a touchy subject for me because in the past couple months, I actually got to meet Xavier Rhodes. I got to talk with him, shake his hand. We did some youth events together. He's giving back to the community in Minneapolis, which includes some of the community I work in. He's doing stuff for the Boys and Girls Club in the Twin Cities. So I was telling my homie the other day when we was watching the game, hey man, I got a newfound respect for Xavier Rhodes. So just lay off him a little bit. But is he on the decline? I mean, honestly, I think ever since he had a leg injury, I don't know if it was last season, he just hasn't been the same. He's lost explosion. And it seems like he's good. He's still good. Don't get me wrong. I've had people say Xavier Rhodes shouldn't even be in the game. He's still a good football player. He's a heck of a tackler. So, for instance, the play he got beat on against Seattle, right? He got beat on a play again. His man was wide open. But then when his man caught the ball, he laid a hit on him and made him fumble. Xavier Rhodes is a great tackler. Yeah, could we put him at safety? Rudy says put him at safety. Put him at safety or make him a hybrid linebacker or something. But is he on the decline as a corner? I would say yes. It just, to me, seems like ever since he had the first leg injury, I can't remember when it was, but it had to be within the last 2 years. He just hasn't been the same player. Do I still think he's a solid football player? Yes. Do I still think he's a great person? Even more so after getting to know him and see what he's doing in the community. But I think it would be dope if we made him a safety or a hybrid linebacker. The other thing I will say about the Vikings defense, this drives me nuts every game. Mike Zimmer is probably the most stubborn coach I've ever seen. He will not change the game plan. The man will sit in cover two all game. He'll do the same plays over and over again. He won't blitz, right? Mike Zimmer blitzes like once or twice a game. No, I mean like extra blitz. So like where the safeties blitz, cornerbacks blitz, more than one person blitzing. We sit in the same defense and trust it game after game after game. Now, does it work for us? Obviously, what's our record? 8-4. Obviously, we're a good team. We're one of the best teams in the league thus far. So our defense is not trash. But at the same time, you have to be adaptable. You have to change the defense. Try something new, right? Blitz more. Put Xavier Rhodes in a hybrid role. Or maybe he needs to take some plays off during the game. Maybe he doesn't need to play 90 snaps. It's true. But, I mean, the reality is like, if you draw up certain blitz schemes, the goal is that they're going to get to the quarterback before he finds that open receiver. So, I mean, I get what Rudy's saying. Rudy says you can't blitz if the corners can't cover anyone. I agree with that to an extent. But the goal in a blitz is to get there before he hits the open receiver. So, I mean, I don't think we should just straight blitz all the time. But I do think there's certain situations where, like, we won't even change it up or even try to. We'll just let the quarterback pick us apart and hope that we stop him. So with that, I want to end with kind of a funny note. Why are we so critical of athletes? I saw this picture or this meme, but it was basically saying like, what if your favorite athletes or the athletes you're most critical of came into your job and just started screaming at you? You a Chipotle worker and they come in and they cussing you out because you ain't rolling the burrito fast enough, right? You ain't scooping the black beans on the bread fast enough, or you're not doing this fast enough. You're not doing that fast enough. The meme made it a lot more funny, but I think a lot of times, yeah, we're passionate about sports, but these people are human beings. That's what I've gotten to realize, even getting to meeting some of these athletes and work with them, and we're passionate. But this is the Morning Sun Podcast. I want to thank y'all for watching. This is about to wrap up episode 5. It's going to be on YouTube later, Spotify, Google Podcasts, everywhere else you can find podcasts. Episode 6 we'll probably do tomorrow or Sunday, sometime this weekend. And I'll look to bring on a special guest again. Y'all seemed to like when my wife was on, so that was pretty cool. But I want to thank y'all for watching. If you like it, please share it with your friends. Comment a topic you'd like to hear about. Man, it's Friday. I hope y'all got paid. I hope y'all have some fun. Be safe. Have a blessed day. Peace.